So great to be joined by Brown head coach Mel Ruzzi. Mel, congratulations on your last weekend. Two big wins over Franklin Pierce. Now you got to retool and get the ladies ready to play league competition, obviously against Quinnipiac and Princeton. They're both going to be at BM Auditorium. Tell us how you're going to do that.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time to chat. Yeah, I mean, Franklin Pierce was a great opening weekend. They did well in their league last year, so it was good to schedule them, get them on the schedule, and play early. But we really kind of had our offense going and got comfortable at times. And so you're right, you got to prepare for a league opponent. And a league opponent that's played maybe 7 games already, Quinnipiac. I got to see them play against PC during the week last week, and then they just came off a big one against Syracuse where they put up some big numbers. And so, yeah, I think nothing's going to change in terms of preparation, but I think, we got smart women in the room, right? They know that QPAC is a nationally ranked opponent, and then Princeton the next night, same thing. And so they know that they got to tighten the screws a little bit. And I think for us, we're focusing defensively, mostly because I think offensively, we've got a good thing going right now and good chemistry, but we got to learn how to defend and maybe sometimes defend some hard minutes down there.
I love the fact that you brought that up because I saw the scores with Franklin Pierce and 8-1 and 6-2. Those aren't very close. So obviously you got the offense wound up. As a coach, how do you teach defense in 1 week to get ready for 2 league opponents like Quinnipiac and Princeton?
You don't in 1 week. I think we've got some pretty good hockey values about, we want to be a team that's hard to play against. And so we want to be physical. And so those are things we've been talking about since training camp. I mean, we got on the ice as a team for the first time, believe it or not, was September 4th. So that was the first day of school at Brown. So, I mean, those are things that we've been harping on for, almost 2 months now. And so, yeah, you're not learning how to play defense, but, we learned a lot in our scrimmages against Yale and Cornell. That was early part of October. We scrimmaged those guys. That was a great way to get prepared. And so now we have to turn back the clock, look at those games again and just remind them of how hard it's going to be in our league. We're young again. It's crazy. I feel like we're young every year. Maybe we don't have grad students, so maybe that's part of it. But our young kids are figuring it out quickly. I mean, I think the talent we have helps. But yeah, I think our young kids will have to learn, feet to the fire and just figure it out. And they will.
I like the fact that you talked about physicality when it comes to defending, but in the women's game, we don't hear that much about physicality, but now we're hearing more about it. Is that because of the PWHL? Is that because they're loosening the standard on physical play in women's hockey? Why do you think that is?
I don't think, I think it's not the PWHL. They kind of came after the physicality of our game. I think their demand to allow it at their level is because those girls are coming out of the NCAA. It is a physical game. The standards have been defined really well, and I'm on the rules committee, so maybe I feel like we've defined it well. But we've made it clear that a collision is not a body check, and so the onus is on the players is to expect contact. Still, the rules apply, right? Keep your sticks down, but yeah, if you're going to go into the battle for a puck on the wall, like expect contact. It's going to be physical in that way, and our league's been playing that way, since I got to Brown, so it shouldn't be new. But it's certainly new for the young kids, right? They're coming out of prep hockey, club hockey. They see it a little bit more up in Ontario, but yeah, it is new for those guys.
You were a defenseman when you played at Providence. You graduated from there in 2003. What do you take from your playing career and put it into your coaching career to help your team get better?
Every game matters. Not to go down the history books, but I remember we had played Harvard in December. And it was a back and forth game. And again, I was a defenseman, not playing against Botterill. I remember that year. And I think she toe dragged me twice in the same rush. Beat me once, then beat me again. And she ended up scoring. And I'll never forget it because you fast forward to the end of the season. And back then, because I'm 100, only 4 teams made the NCAA tournament. So we won our league, but there was no such thing as an auto bid back there. We were 1 spot out of making that tournament. And every game matters, right? We looked at that Harvard game as if we had flipped the script there and won that game. We're going to the NCAA tournament, right? And so there's 2 parts of this for me. Is like I don't want to say the seriousness of it, but everything matters. Every play matters. I was not a highly talented player. Was not super skilled. I joke with the players. I think I scored 8 goals. 7 of them were empty net because I was really good defensively. I was never out there when we're trying to score, but I think every little play matters. And so I think that's why defensive minded a coach I am. But it also has to be fun. Like, I think what Coach Duraney did for us is we had a really good locker room. And so even though the stakes were high and the games were tight, it was always about having a great time and the memories you're making with your friends, and they're going to be your friends for life. And so it's that serious, but also like enjoying the moment.
Well, you were talking about Jennifer Bottrell, who toe dragged you twice. She's a former Patty Kazmaier Award winner. Once you win it, you're always a Patty Kazmaier Award winner. How much has the game changed since you played against her on the women's side?
I mean, it's a different game. I mean, Pierre, like, these players are so talented. Everybody can shoot. Everybody can skate. I think maybe the difference right now is IQ. Like, I think some players just really, really heady and they really understand the game. But I think it's really fast. It's really fast. Everybody can make plays. They can pass. It's a fun game to watch. And that's why I think the physical part's important, but I never want the skill to be taken away. The women's game is a beautiful game because they make some really nice plays. So I think that part's been fun.
Bobby Duraney is the coach you were alluding to that worked with you at Providence. He used to work for me at hockey camps when he's a player at Boston University. Now he's coaching the East Coast Hockey League up in Worcester. I was just curious, what did you take from Bobby as a coach that you put into Mel Ruzzi's playbook, so to speak?
Well, it's funny. We were actually at the Worcester Railers game last night as a staff. So it's funny we got to see Coach last night. But he cares more than anybody about his players, about his staff. That's something I learned from my dad too. Like, care about the people you're with, and show that vulnerability about how much you care. And so I think that's definitely a takeaway as a coach. Like, it's not X's and O's. I mean, every one of these coaches in our league is a really good X's and O's coach. For me, like, hopefully my players know that I care deeply about who they are holistically. And I think that maybe where I've been fortunate to have players who are super bought in and we play a really strong team game.
One of the things that I found so awesome about you and your background is how hard you worked the recruiting trail. You could have been at Amherst, you could have been at Princeton, you could have been at Yale, you could have been at Harvard, you could have been at Providence College, all the places you used to work before you got to Brown. But everybody that I've talked about, you said the same thing. You are just a nonstop recruiter. What do you look for when you're recruiting young ladies?
IQ. I mean, I said that's the hardest thing. It used to, skating is like a non-negotiable, but IQ, and then our locker room is the most important piece. I want women who are genuine, we're eclectic. We are a super diverse group of women, and I love that. But to respect that diversity and that ethnicity and all those things that make us super, super special. So I want really good women. I want smart women that I could, when they graduate, that we could become friends. I want good people. But yeah, we're all looking for the same thing in terms of talent. We want some high end players that can make our program better when they open the door. They go out there to do some fun stuff.
So I spent a lot of time in the NHL, 35 years. And there are always different areas where players are trending. So 1 year it could be defensemen from Sweden. Another year it could be offensive players from Russia. Another year it could be, power forwards from Canada. Another year it could be slick forwards from the United States. Where's a trending area in women's hockey right
now? You're asking a coach who we will go everywhere and anywhere to find players. We've had some great success in Ontario. For whatever reason, I think, you talk about like the physicality. It's a hard-nosed league up there. And so those women know how to play more quickly, but there's no bias in the Brown staff. We'll go everywhere and anywhere. And, my first year here, I think our players were all from different provinces, different states, different leagues. Like, not one of them shared. I mean, I don't think they knew each other before they got here. So yeah, we'll go anywhere to find them. But I think Ontario is a really deep pool for us.
Well, it's also been a really deep pool for Brown when it comes to former Brown Olympians. I did a lot of Olympics since 2002, and I think of Kathleen Kopp, I think of Becky Keller-Duke, I think of Katie Kane-Crowley, whose husband I coached in the NHL, and think of Tara Mounsey. Do you rely on those women at all in terms of alumni connections to try to sell the Brown product?
Yeah, can't rely on Katie King to sell the brown.
I know the Protestant college thing. I know. Don't worry.
A little bit. I know. I actually was just up in Ontario in September. Becky Keller helps out with the great program Burlington Barracudas, and so I was chatting with her a little bit. But yeah, we do have some Brown alums all over some coaching ranks and have kids elsewhere. But yeah, I think we're using our entire network, right? But yeah, I think we rely on those a little bit. But I think what we rely on them for is to talk about how special Brown is and the culture here, not just in our locker room, but I mean, alums always say to me, like, and Pam was just saying this to our locker room this weekend, like, you don't realize how special it is here, this place, until you're gone. Like, you think everyone's going to be this nice. You think every community is going to be this tight. So it is a special place. And so we rely on our alums to tell that story for sure.
I'm curious, practice is this afternoon, and you've been kind enough to come on before practice. What will be the focus of a Monday practice, getting ready to play Quinnipiac on a Friday afternoon?
Because of the weekend we came off of, we will certainly focus on the defensive side of the puck. Monday for us is a big skills day, individual stuff, but even individual back check, stick pops, pins, all of those things on the defensive side of the puck, just because we need to really make sure that that's our foundation.
Interesting. And what do you say to your forwards when you're trying to teach defensive skills?
Our wings have to be the headiest players in D zone. We try to be aggressive. And so if you want to be aggressive outside the dots and looking for pins and pressure, you got to have lockdown wings. We call our weak side sort of our safety valve. You clean up the mess. So yeah, the forwards know that it's not a D day for us. It's all six of us and our goaltenders included. Like the communication there, even rim pucks, the goalies know that rim puck never gets past you. You got to stop that puck, set it for our D.
One of the players you have that I was really fascinated by last year when I was broadcasting your playoff game up at Colgate was Jade Ginla. Is Jade having the kind of year starting to have the kind of year you're expecting her to this year? I think she's one of the standout players in women's hockey right now.
Yeah, she is. I mean, it's funny. I see her as a power forward, right? I see her as that style of play. She's a captain. She is our captain this year, voted by her teammates, and so a little bit more weight on her shoulders that she's handled beautifully. A great leader. Yeah, I think she's honestly doesn't have a bad game. What she does really well is even if she's not putting a puck in the net, she's so hard to play against. She's so physical. She's got so much power in her game, not just offensively, defensively as well. And so, yeah, off to a good start. I think she'd like to have goals on the stat line. It's crazy to think we scored so many and that she didn't get credit for a goal, but they're creating all the time, that line.
Do you ever get any calls from Interior BC? You look at the phone, and this guy named Jerome. Do you ever get any calls from him?
He is totally off hands when it comes to that stuff. I know that I always know Jade talks to her dad after a game, and if I were to guess, I bet he's pretty tough on her in a really good way. I mean, they're a really close family, but when she first got here, I got on a Zoom call with him just to ask a couple of hockey things, but he trusts what we're doing, in which I respect that so much that he's letting us lead a really great player that happens to be his daughter, and he believes in what we're doing.
One of the magical moments in this career was in 2002. Canada was having training camp down in Calgary at the Father David Bauer Arena. I was there broadcasting it. And the reason he got invited to that camp is because there were 3 or 4 guys that got hurt. So those guys' injuries led to his opportunities. And all of a sudden, Jerome McGinley gets on the map for everybody. And he's a superstar in the Salt Lake City Olympics. And every time I think about that, and when I was watching Jade last year, I think about how great it would be to have somebody like that close to your program, because he's just such a gentleman, such a good guy. I see the way Jade plays, and I was so happy to hear your evaluation of her, because you're spot on. She's a power forward. She truly is, and a great power forward.
Yeah, she is. She is.
What do you think going forward for the women's game because of the PWHL? How will this help grow the college game, or even to levels below the college game? Will it help grow it?
Absolutely. I mean, I think I look at the WNBA and just finishing up their final series and the numbers and who's watching. You need to have a next level after college, right? The college game is exceptional, but there's only one Olympic team per country, right? there are so many more women that are capable of being at that high level. And so it gives something for women to strive for. Absolutely. But yeah, for young girls, like I think to be able to, right now it's YouTube and hopefully the PWHL signs a TV deal as well. They should. It's great hockey. But absolutely that helps for women to know there's another level after that and what pro hockey looks like and what they're doing at that league is awesome.
Take us inside a Brown versus Providence game. You've done it as a coach and you've done it as a player. What's it like?
Mayor's Cup. It's usually a bloodbath. I think what we're doing at Brown with our program, I think that fire is going to be ignited again. And I say that last year we lost 1-0. We probably should have taken that game. So a little fire in your belly when you know you're playing a crosstown rival for sure. I told the players last year, it's personal for me. Like, better believe I want to beat them, right? It's certainly a feather in my cap, and I'm not afraid to tell my players. I think they know I'm vulnerable in front of them. I want them to know what matters to me, and so yeah, that will be a great game again this year for sure.
Can you pick up the phone and call some NHL coaches and players, and whenever they play against their old team, say it's okay to be mad, you want to beat them? It's okay to do that? Because I just love that response from you. No, that was awesome because that really is the passion most hockey people have. And whenever I hear these coaches, and I was one of them, oh, we're going to go play my old team. Oh, we don't even think about that. Oh, yeah, you do. Especially when you got fired by the last team. You sure do think about it.
Absolutely. And I think that that's something that women coaches, and it's not to say men and women, because Bob Durini, very emotional man, very open, right? But generally women's coaches, like we kind of connect with our players in a little bit different way. And I think many of us are okay with the feelings portions of this. I tell my players all the time, emotion is power as long as you use it the right way. I want our players to express joy when they're out there. Like I want them to be angry and play angry when they need to. Like I think it's a powerful piece for us.
At the end of every season, most coaches say, this is what I liked about our team. This is what I didn't like about our team. And this is what I'm going to do to make it better. Do you have those kind of conversations with yourself or with your staff?
Yeah, I mean, I talked about it earlier, but like I want us to be so hard to play against. And I don't care if it's my first year here when maybe we're just kind of getting it going, or maybe this year where our talent's a little bit deeper. Like I want it to be like the games against Brown and the toughest games that we came away from it a little bit beat up. I think that's really important to me. I think I have a blue collar way about me. I think Brown is very much a blue collar Ivy, hardworking group of people. And so that's what I want. I think we did that through my first 3 years where we've been a team who structurally we're super sound. So it can be kind of frustrating at times. But I also think the other thing I want people to see out of our team is the joy. I want like random people to come to our game and be like, wow, like those guys are having a blast out there. And like, sometimes it's hard because it's intense at times, but I think the joy component is really, really important. You talk about like girls and what they can look up to and aspire to. Like I think the hockey locker room is the most special place. And if you can bring that feel out onto the ice for the fans to see, I think that's a really moving part of our game.
Can you give us an example of how you cultivate that as a coach?
Oh man, I wish I like knew what our magic sauce is. It goes back to like the people we bring in the locker room and making sure that we have some good eggs. I walked into a program, 3 years ago with some really good women who that know how to have fun and know how to care about each other. But I think from my end, it goes back to like, am I afraid to cry in front of my players? No. Am I afraid to be silly? No. Like my wife had our son at the game on Friday, and he's got his panda suit on. And she's hanging him over the banister, and I was terrified. But yeah, like we want to let the players into our world, so they'll let us in and have it be as close to a family as possible. Right? It's intense. Hockey's intense. Sport is intense. But yeah, I want them to see the full self who I am, and then I think that allows the whole team to feel that way, comfortable, genuine.
That is a tremendous answer. I love that. Thank you very much for sharing that. That's really cool. That's great. Your women are fortunate to have you with that kind of mentality. I think that's fantastic. We need more guy coaches to talk that way. That would be a lot better, I think, around all of our programs as well. I'm thinking about the season. It's early on. I don't know the women's game in terms of work habits as well as I obviously know the men's games because I never worked with a women's team. How much do you worry about fatigue?
We do worry about it. And mostly because they have two full-time jobs, right? And I'm not just saying just Brown. I mean, obviously Brown's a great school educationally and they have to work really hard, but you've got two full-time jobs. You're a student and you're an athlete. And so I think what we've done a really good job as a staff over the years of being at Brown is getting a feel for the ebbs and flows of work here. And when is it highly intense academically, and when can we find a way to still work hard but like loosen up a little bit as coaches to make sure that I think the physical part of it we do a pretty good job, but the mental fatigue, making sure that they're fresh mentally and in a good place. And so yes, culture helps with that, but when the whole locker room's stressed about exams and midterms, like the coaches have to step in and like create a little bit of light air. And so I think that that's a part of that fatigue that you're talking about as well, not just the physical part, but that mental part.
When I say ECAC hockey on the women's side, what does it mean to you now?
Deep. It's deep. Everyone is good. What I will say about the ECAC hockey too, and our colleagues across our league are so good. Like the teams we play are prepared. They're coached really, really well. They all recruit really, really well. And so, yeah, there's no weekend off. And so it's a really good grind. I think that's why our teams have done well nationally, is because the grind of our season.
Coach Mel Ruzzi, thank you so much for joining us. That was fantastic. Very enlightening. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Pierre. I appreciate your time.